My name is Suzanne Prestopnik, Swansera Prestopnik. I was born in Little Falls, 1917. Oh, good Lord. Well, at least I'm still here. The first thing I remember is I was maybe 7. My godfather had this farm up in Salisbury. Oh, and what a nice farm. Everything, a real farm. So I was kind of bored one day, and I went and sat under this tree. I don't know, it was a tree to me, And the bark was all, like your white trees, the white tree that peels like the Indians used to make the canoes out of. Well, was just a brown tree. And it was just a tree, so I started peeling it. And it was a gorgeous red underneath. It was just beautiful. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying peeling this tree. Never thinking I'm killing the tree. So I had the tree about half, I'm sitting there while I'm sitting, and as far as I could peel it. And I got up, and I was going to peel a little farther up because I was all short. All of a sudden, my godfather comes out of the house, and he lets out this screech. And of course, what happened? What's going on? There's nothing here, He comes over, and he picks me up, puts me over his knee, and he wails the daylights out of me. Oh, I didn't think I sat for a month. What are you yelling at me for, He says, you killed my tree. What do I know? Of course I had peeled oh my God, as far as I could sit and peel it, And I felt bad, come to find it was a beautiful Queen Anne cherry tree, and those cherries are very expensive. I don't know, you do your grocery shopping, don't even waste your time buying it $4 for a can like this. So I says, well, I'm sorry. And so then, what a job they had trying to keep they had to wet all kinds of rags and, fix up the tree.
Yeah.
And then they tied all ropes and everything around it to hold it there. And he says, you better pray that tree doesn't die, or you're going to die too. And here I'm going to die, Well, I was petrified. I was only about 7. And that's honestly the first thing that I remember, that when we were real little, except like Sundays, we'd come home from church, and we had to change our clothes, of course. Then we'd have dinner, and then we'd put all our clothes on again, our Sunday go-to-meeting clothes, And we'd go for a walk down the street, my father and all his 4 girls. And because my sister Anna was living in Europe yet, she was living there. And remember grandma, your real grandmother, Betty Smolik, that I remember she used to come to our house. And I remember we were used to string beads. We were always stringing beads. We were not we were not doll people. We were more out running around, with the boys and playing kick the can and all that kind of stuff.
You mentioned your sister. What about family members? Who were they? If you could just mention their
my
names.
Sister Anna. My mother and father came here. My mother was 13 when she came here, all alone from Czechoslovakia on a boat. Imagine that, Mark. I didn't go. John didn't go anywhere from holding my hand till he was 40. I think. He's going to kill me. But no, and then she came here. My father was 16. They got married. I'm not at 13, but I mean when they were older. And then when my mother got pregnant, she had my sister Anna. And then, I can't understand. Well, of course, my father was always a worker. So my father sent his wife with a baby to Europe. And she stayed there for not too long, because she wanted to come home, because she was going to go to work. Now she's got to go to work, and she doesn't have a baby. So she comes home with no baby. And I could never understand that. That was, what? Now, Mom, what was the what was that for? Well, she says, I don't know, everybody did it. Your first child, when you came here to America, and if you had your first child here, you took the baby back to grandma. I thought, that's kind of dumb, you know, but that was what they all did. And she mentioned all these families, 3-4 families that I knew the people down on Southern Avenue, you know, on Flint Avenue that they lived. So that was kind of dumb, but that's what it was. So she stayed there till she was 7 years old, and then she came home. And of course, in the meantime, there was my sister Teeny, was 2 years younger than my sister Anna, and then my sister Betty was 2 years younger than Teeny, and then I was 2 years younger than my sister Betty. My brother was 2 years younger than me, and then my sister Catherine was 5 years younger than me. And then my mother had my brother Johnny when I was 15.
Wow.
And I don't know, we all just lived all together, and we just had a great time. And you know where we lived. Your friend on Kessler Street, that we lived right next door there. What was his name? The Italian fella on
Giaconi's.
Cicconi's.
Right.
Well, I used to, the second house there, there was only 4 houses on the street. So we lived in that second house. And we all lived there.
Did you share a room with all your
all
siblings?
Of us, yeah. And we just lived. We just enjoyed everything. We all were poor. We were all in the same boat. Everybody on the south side, and we just, is that going?
Yeah,
we were just enjoying our life. And Ann Gregorka and Betty Smolik and I were the threesome that we were always together. Even though I don't know why Betty never roller skated. And I would get on roller skates right after school. We'd roller skate down Jefferson Street. And if you've never roller skated down a nice big hill with the sidewalks broken and everything, jumping over there, it's a wonder we weren't killed. The Lord He's been with me all my life. Thank you, Lord. And then we'd go all the way down Southern Avenue, you know, where the Rotary is now, where the boats meet.
Yeah.
And there were 2 bridges there, one over the canal, one over the river. And they ended up down on West Main Street, way down past Furnace Street, somewhere in that neck of the woods. So Ann and I roller skated there, and then we'd go all the way down to St. Mary's Church on Main Street, all the way almost to the end of the city, and come back again, and then go up, try to roller skate uphill, all the way up Jefferson Street. And we did that every single night when it was nice out. You know, you'll go to bed and you feel your skates are still on your feet.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of walking. Of course, we didn't have any money, because all the money that was in went into the house, of course. And I don't ever remember my father being without a job. He always worked. He worked in the knitting mill, but he did a lot of machine work, fix machines. And where he learned how to do that, I don't know, because they certainly didn't have any of that stuff in Czechoslovakia. 16, what did he know at 16 when he came here? But, and my mother, when all of us kids were old enough to go to school, she went to work in another knitting mill. All these people came in from Czechoslovakia, and they were going to Little Falls, I think Michigan. And when the conductor hollered Little Falls, that's all they heard. They never heard Little Falls, New York. They all got off in Little Falls, New York, instead of going on to Michigan. Well, this one man was on the train station where the restaurant is now, and somebody called up this lady. He called this lady up that lived on Jefferson Street that had a couple of other Slovak guys that had come in before. So she said, "Oh, I'll be right down." So here she has to trot all the way down she lived right under our church, the old church on Jefferson Street, you know. And she came down. I don't know how many, at least 10 of them there were. what is she going to do with 10 people? She's only got a house, you know. So she said, well, bring them in. So she did. She brought all these people in, and my mother was the only girl, and she was a little tiny thing at 13. So they didn't know what to do. But all these guys were working. So when the guys went to work, all these other guys went to bed. She said she never even had time to change the sheets. They just all flopped into bed, you know, tired because all the other guys. And she said that's how she carried on with these guys. They all a night shift and a day shift. And she said it worked beautifully. And she kept all the people because they didn't know where else to go. And that's how they were stuck here in Little Falls. And they were most of them were from this one little town, Mijava, from Czechoslovakia. And so that's a lot of people ended up here in Little Falls. So many Slovak people. A mistake. Nice mistake, because this is nice. I like Little Falls. Best place in the world. But, and my mother says she went to work when she was 14 in another factory, another knitting mill that was called the Adams, and she was too small. You don't know anything about a mill. Well, anyway, all this big yarn, and the things are about this, a spool of thread about that big, and it's way up here. All the threads are up here, and it comes down, and it starts on here, and then the material comes, and it's here, and the material comes out this way. Mm-hmm. But you got to make sure that the thread from down here doesn't rip. That you got to hurry up, run, and tie it quick before the machine knits slowly, you know. And so she couldn't reach the mill. She couldn't reach the knob, and she didn't want to lose her job. So the guys felt sorry for her. They got this big wooden box, and they made a hole in it and tied a rope, and she was running with a box back and forth to the machine, big machine, about a mammoth. The material they made, oh gosh, it was about this wide. So she had to run all this distance, all the back and forth, all the time, dragging this box so she could reach all that. And she said, all the men were laughing at her, but at least she was working at 13, 14, you know. And, but she said that was really, but that's how she paid her room and board. At 13, 14, jeez. When I was 13, 14, I was still roller skating, for God's sakes. Talk about idiots. Yeah. No, but I had a great life, and we used to go to Sunday was our time. Well, we didn't have any money. We had to make your own fun. We used to play. Well, we played a lot of football. Right on the road, ooh, your skin knees, they hurt. You know, you fall down on cobblestones and everything.
Done my fair share of that.
Yeah, oh my gosh. You know, I was always banged up. Honest to God. But just playing all kinds of games all the time, and up where we live. I mean, right next door to your friend up on Kessler Street, because we moved. When we moved, we lived on Jefferson Street. And this one time, I don't know, this herd of cows was walking up the hill, up Jefferson Street. Cows. And just before that, a farmer came. The farmers used to, like now we have your farmers come into town.
Farmers market.
Farmers market. So my mother had corn. So your mother and I were sitting on our stairs. We were living on Jefferson Street then, 4 houses down from the church. And so we're sitting there eating our corn, and one of the cows looks up and she sees the corn. Well, the cow starts walking up the stairs. And so she walked up the stairs from the road, and then there was just about enough for maybe 2-3 steps. Then the other stairs coming into the house. Well, when the cow was right up to us already, well, we're screaming, bloody murder, the cow is right there in your face, you know, coming up the stairs. So we back up into the stairs, up the stairs, and my mother said, "Give her the corn. Give her." No, we're not going to give her our corn. So she grabs the corn, shoos the cow away, And I was petrified of cows. I was absolutely petrified of them. So what do I do next time? My mother says, "Your godfather's picking you up. You're going on a farm." I don't go on a farm. I don't go there. And but every vacation, that was my vacation. I spent all summer on a farm with my godfather.
What did you do at the farm?
I don't know, but there was so much doing all the time, picking up chicken eggs, playing with little chickens, and the little pigs, and the ducks, and we had this beautiful creek running right in front of the house. Not in front of the house, but over on the side of the road, And I don't know, there was so much to do all the time. And I was there from the day school ended till the day began. The school began. I stayed there also, never even came home. Never went to church. I didn't care if I went to church or not. I was on the farm and I wasn't going to come home.
And who did you stay with there? Whose farm?
I stayed right on the farm. Lived there.
Who owned the farm?
My godfather.
What was his name?
And he had a son, Sam. Sam was maybe, I think he was about, not my age, but maybe a year older, 2 years, And so we were always in, and of course on a farm, you're working. I mean, I did a lot of stuff. I helped in the kitchen while Betty was cooking. Her name was Betty too, Betty Biza. And so I peeled potatoes, I peeled apples, there was a lot of stuff that I could do even though I was only 7. And I think that's where I learned how to cook and do everything in the house. You had to clean the house, dust and fix beds, and somebody had to do it because she was always busy on the farm. You're always canning and milk, and we had milking machines. He had enough money to buy milking machines, but you had to finish milking. After they took the milking machine off the cow, you had to finish stripping they called it stripping. You had to finish milking the cow, and I wouldn't sit under that cow. I was afraid of a cow. I'd sit on the stairs way over there and I was watching the cows. But I don't know. You're doing something all the time. Well, that's where I learned how to smoke.
Oh yeah? Tell us more about that.
Well, I was about 12, 13, and I saw this smoke coming out of behind the barn. Oh my God, there's a fire. So I ran over there and there's Sam smoking, And he was only 2 years older than me. I was about 9 by then. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Hey, you want to smoke?" Nobody smoked. My father never smoked. Well, let's face it, nobody could afford to smoke, And sure, I was willing to try anything. I jump off a hayloft all the way down there. I almost broke my neck, I'd try anything. So I tried it. Oh my God, I thought I would die. My lungs got full of smoke. Oh, I cried and I cried and shut up, will you shut up? But I couldn't tell my godfather what I was coughing and sneezing about and everything. And Sam held that over my head I think till he died. I never told my mother. Oh, geez, that was something. If she ever knew that, she'd never let me go on a farm. But it was fun. And there was this other, a couple of people that had farms down the road. And once in a while, the kids would walk up the road, and I don't know, just
do what kids do.
Yeah,
right?
just around the farm. There was always something. You had either baby pigs, or you had baby cows, or you had baby horses, or you had something, But it was that was the best part of my life. And I was sorry that they didn't have the farm going when my kids were growing up, because I would send them up there, But of course he was gone, and the farm was gone. So, but and then of course by the time I was 16, I was looking for a job. Since my sisters were already working, my 2 sisters, Anna and Teeny, were in New York. And when my sister Anna came here from Europe, She was 7 years old, couldn't speak a word of English, but went to kindergarten anyway, and she learned. And then when they were 17, my sister Anna was 17, 60, whatever, and then Teeny was 2 years younger. Then they went to New York. And so then there was only Betty and me and my sister Catherine and my brother Paul left. And, but it was just great. We just had a family all the time around us. And I don't know, it seemed to go too fast, you know.
How was the relationship with the rest of the community?
You mean the people that came here?
Yeah. With
Well,
your
I don't know. My
parents'
mother, well,
generation.
evidently they were all in church, whoever they were. I don't know, because they all came from the same little town in Europe,
Right.
and so evidently they were the same. Because I never, you know, my mother and father will never want to talk about it, because the reason they sent my mother here when she was a little girl, 13, the Hungarian gypsies were stealing the girls, the little kids, and they were afraid that they were going to steal her. And of course, my mother had a big family. They had a big family, but even so, you can't keep your eye on a little kid, you know. Well, look at when Leo comes in. My God, there's 4 of us, and we can't keep track of one little kid. But so that's why they sent her here, and but I never knew any. I don't know which of the people. Every now and then, one of everybody my age is dead already, for God's sakes. And they'd say, "Oh, gee, I think my mother and father came from Miava too." You know, we never as teenagers we didn't care.
Yeah.
I don't know where Betty, your real, Susan's real mother, I don't know where they came from, but they were from Czechoslovakia, but I don't think they were from Miava. But my mother used to take care of Betty, and that's why Betty and I were the best of friends, because she was just a year younger than me. And my mother was home with a couple of more kids, so Betty would walk, her mother would walk her up to our house on Jefferson Street, when we lived on Jefferson Street. And my mother would take care of Betty while she was home. And so Mrs. Smolik always worked, and both of them. And of course there were a whole bunch of Slovaks there, so must be they were the ones that came in, you know, in this bunch. Well, as kids, teenagers, who cares? We never cared. But we kept track. We kept track of my cousins in Europe, and that's when I went. I've been back 5 times, and saw them all the time. But and we wanted to send my mother and father, when we were all grown up, we were all on our own already. We wanted to send my mother and father back to Europe, so she'd go to Miava, you know. And I told her, I said, "Ma, you know how they're building the church and everything. Not building the church, but I mean how they were doing it. See how backward they were now. This was 1980, maybe 82, I think, because I didn't go to Czechoslovakia in 80. I think it was 82 the first time I went with Pastor Gallagher. You remember Pastor Gallagher?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he was going to Czechoslovakia, and he wanted somebody to go with him who could speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, well, I'll go. So Helen Billy, Pastor Billy's wife, widow, she and I went with Pastor Gallagher, and we went to Czechoslovakia, and that's the first time that I really met my cousins. Not my cousins, but my cousin's daughters. She had 2 daughters there, and I never met them, but I knew Christina because she came to America one time. And so I kept in touch with them. We wrote back and forth, and it was funny because we spoke Slovak, but it was so mixed in with the English. We spoke half and half English and half Slovak, you know. And then when I went over there, it was funny because the people would be talking to me, and I'd say, now how do I say that? Oh, and they didn't know what What? You know, what did she say? No, and I would explain in Slovak what I'm trying to say, that I couldn't explain it in Slovak, but I could explain it in English, and I was trying to translate on this time, and oh, what a time we had. Well, it was really funny, and everybody, oh my God, the people that came there when they found out that I was there from America. It was really a riot. You'd think I was a queen or something coming visiting, you know.
Do you remember what year that was? Or around what year?
Well, it was anywhere after '82 somewhere, because that was the first time that I ever went to Czechoslovakia. But I had been to Europe. I think it was 1980. I think it was 1980 when Tom was in the service. Or no, it was 60. That's right. Because when Tom was in England, he went into right after he graduated. When did Tom graduate? 60. When did John graduate? 60. Something.
He was born in
Anyway.
45, so
Yeah. Well, that was
63.
way back in there at some place that I went there, but every time when I went back to Europe now, I went to see them, and but my mother and father would never go back. They said no, we're not. My mother said absolutely not. She said I will never go back. So if she had any experiences or something there as a small child, I don't know, but they absolutely refused. Don't even think to give us money because we're not going to go. And so that was it. But when I came back, she wanted to know how things were, and the thing is, the Mijava was about the size of Little Falls. Just about the size of Little Falls, and just like that, hills all around us. We're sitting in a valley, and you know when you go up on the thruway, you could look down on us. Well, that was just like that in Mijava, and so it was really something to see, and like where the hotel was, where Helen and I first stayed, because Christina's husband was real bad. My cousin's husband was bad, and we didn't want to stay there. Give her more work when she had a bad husband. So we stayed in this hotel. Oh my God. You walk into the hotel and all you could smell was the cigarettes, you know, dope, full of dope. And I thought, oh good Lord, it's a good thing my mother never went, because that was their farm, where their farm was. And the church was right, just not far away from the hotel. And when I came in there, the man says, "Come on, we're going to show you something." Now this was in the '80s already. This was in the '80s when I finally went to Europe to see them in Czechoslovakia. My parents absolutely refused; they would not go back, and I'm glad they never did, because all the people that came to see me were nice, but there was this element in there that, they were like hippies. I mean, dirty. And their language was language I never heard on the south side. The Slovak. I mean, to me it was disgusting, dirty, as far as I was concerned. And then when I came home, I told my sisters, I says, I'm glad we never sent them. I says, it was disgusting. In the hotel, it was full of dope, the hotel where Helen and I stayed. I said, so wonder we didn't end up being dope fiends by the time we were in there for the week, you know. And but after that, every time I went in, I stayed with my cousin, because he had died in the meantime, in a couple of years. In fact, it was, I think it was 82, it was 81. Then I went back in 81 with Pastor Gallagher, and then we went back again in 82. So from the meantime, from 81 to 82, he had died. My cousin's husband had died. And so then I stayed with her all the time. But then I went over on a bus, and there was a whole pile of us from church that I think there were 14 of us that we went that time. But Helen, Billy, and I stayed with my cousin at that time. And that was real great.
Could you tell me more about what Little Falls was like as a city or a town, or like what the people were like, and or what people worked in, and what I don't know.
Everybody was working. We all had jobs. You know, Mark, I don't remember the Depression. I was in high school in 30s because I graduated in 35. That was almost coming to the end of the Depression, 35. I went through school. I had a job. I was working for Coach Crisp, 50 cents a week. But I was going to school. And so that was good for me. 50 cents. I got 50 cents. And I lived there and I ate there. My mother didn't have any money problems sending me to school because Coach Chris fed me. And gave me 50 cents besides. So then when I graduated, I stayed there. And I got raised $1.50 a week. And by the time, I was there 5 years. And I raised Nancy and Joanne. One was 7, one was 8 when I moved there, when I went to live there. And I stayed there. And then, by then, I was going with Jake. And I was thinking about getting married. You know, we had been going together for 3 years. And so I had to have more money. So I said, I quit there and went to work in a factory. And everybody was working as far as we were concerned, because my father never was out of a job. Even though, somebody was telling me, I remember being hungry. I said, I don't ever remember being hungry. Evidently, my mother was a good manager because all the kids we had, I think there were 5 or 6 families in Little Falls, the Slovak families, that had 5 to 7 kids. That was a lot of kids. Susan's mother, Susan's grandmother, only had one, Betty. She was the only one she had, was Susan's mother. The only one she had. And a lot of other people only had 2 kids. And yet those people, well, of course, they were well off because they both worked, both for mother and father. But some of the people, she says, I remember going to school when I was hungry. And I thought, I was hungry. In fact, every Sunday we had to have chicken. You had to have chicken soup. If it wasn't Sunday without chicken soup, and we weren't Jewish. And then we had another roast, some kind of roast, because my father took charge of the church. And when strangers came, they were coming home with us to eat. And my mother never knew how many people we were going to have for Sunday dinner. And we had this mammoth table. Of course, you got 7 kids and 9 people in a house. You got a big table, Sunday, big table. And so every Sunday we had somebody was there. If nobody else but my Uncle Mike from Utica and his wife, till she died, then he cooked them alone. But outside of that, I don't know. I know some people that were the kids were really ragged. And I know this one teacher grabbed this kid and she pulled him, ripped the buttons off his shirt, and the boy started to cry. And everybody felt so bad. And he says, that was the only good shirt I had, now I haven't got any buttons on it. And I felt so bad, and I told my mother, I said, Ma, I can't remember the kid's name, it was Albert or John, a little Italian kid. And I says, Miss Page grabbed him and she ripped his shirt off, and he was crying. Even when he was going home, he was crying because he only had the one shirt. So my mother ran around all over she did all the sewing. My mother did a lot of sewing. That's why everybody thought we were rich, because we had clothes. My father, oh poor Pa, we used to buy sugar and flour in 100-pound bags. You know what a 100-pound sack looks like? You wouldn't know. So my father used to walk all the way from where your friend up on Kessler Street, all the way down Jefferson Street, all the way down to the bridge, way down the bridge. There was a grocery store there, still is. He'd carry this bag of sugar and flour, one or the other, and they each had, the bags were not burlap. They were nice material, nice print. My father would come home with this bag on his shoulder, 100 pounds up Jefferson Street. Now, what did you bring that for? Well, isn't this what you wanted? Let me see. He'd take out a little piece of material, a little swatch of material. Does this look like that bag? Does this look like that bag? My father it looked the same. He couldn't tell the difference, that this cloth did not look like this cloth. Take it back. My poor father had to walk all the way downhill with this 100-pound sack on his back. So then Mr. Gasper would have to take a look at this. Oh no, then they have to look at all the bags to match the piece that matched this piece of material. Because there was enough there to make a blouse for me, because I was small. But my sisters were good sized. And my mother wanted to make a dress. Well, you had to have two bags to make a dress. So that's why my poor father, if he didn't bring the right bag, had to go back. Boy, my father learned fast. But, and that's why everybody thought, we had a lot of clothes. And then, when my clothes didn't fit me, my sister Catherine wore them. Why not? I mean, to this day, we never minded wearing one another's clothes. You haven't worn that shirt in a long time. Don't you like it? Well, it's all right, but let me give it to me. I'll wear it. I mean, we never, all seven of us, we never worried about it. Never gave it a thought that, gee, that was somebody else's. I'm not gonna wear it. You just didn't do things like that. I mean, her shoes. We wore the shoes out. My father would resole them. He had the iron. What would you call it? We called it a copito. The iron shoe. You put this iron shoe on this stand, and then you put your shoe on it, and you. In fact, I just gave that to the Historical Society. And they said, "Oh my God, where'd you get that?" I says, "I've had it for years." And then they had a little one that had just a little stand that you put the stand, and you could work the shoe on your table instead of, and you put the thing between your legs, this big, yeah. And in fact, I had it a long time, and I thought, now Tom would be the only one that would be interested in it, because nobody else would be interested in anything like that. And I thought, no, I'm not even going to give it to Tom. I gave it to the Historical Society. And an iron that you had to heat on a stove. They had a clamp on it, and the iron, big heavy iron. Yeah. And but we made do with everything. I mean, I don't know. We just had a great life. And never missed the money. We never missed money. What do we need money for? We were always doing things. If that bicycle riding. I never learned to ride a bicycle. I read this article one time. It says, there's no such a thing in not knowing how to ride a bicycle. If you could roller skate, your balance is good, you could bicycle. Not me. I could. I think maybe my rear end was too big or something. But this girl next door got a bike. A small bike, because Jane and I were both about the same size. I thought, gee, maybe maybe let me take her bike, ride it. Oh, no, Jane wasn't going to let anybody take her bike. Her sister Mary bought that for her. My sister Anna bought a doll carriage, and a doll. My sister Catherine grabbed the doll right away. I got the empty carriage. I don't care. Put my cat in the carriage. So we were out there one day, and Jane came with a bicycle. And did you ever, when you went up there, you never went all the way to Danube Street to the hall, Danube Hall? You know where the Danube Hall is there? You never know. Well, anyway, across the Danube Hall, there's a big hill. And I mean a hill, big hill. that goes way down to the rail, you know, where the railroad, you look down the railroad from Castle Street. Well, 2 kids put me on this bicycle. Now you're going to learn how to ride a bike. Put your feet on the pedals. I put my feet on the pedals, and they pushed me, and I'm going like this, all the way down this hill, and I'm going until I hit the railroad track, and I fell off. Gave myself a good bang. And of course the kids were scared. They all ran after me. And that was the first and last time I was on a bicycle.
Huh.
Absolutely cannot ride a bicycle. I don't know if it's my insides don't want to ride a bicycle or what. Yeah, I just could not ride a bike. And Jake says, I'll teach you how. No, you're not. I'm not riding a bike. I'm not going to ride a bike. But roller skating, last time I was on roller skate was on Paul. Paul was 7 years old. So how old is Paul? He's about 30 something. We went roller skating, the whole bunch of us went roller skating. That was the last time I was on a roller skates. In fact, I was looking for roller skates in the place that was, well, you wouldn't know. There was a place here, it wasn't a junk shop. It was a real nice place. And I went there every single day looking maybe somebody to bring roller skates in. And I was going to get them and roller skate here. I roller skate up and down the hall. Never got them. And I didn't want to spend about $50, $60 for a pair of roller skates. So I wonder if I could roller skate. I bet you I could. Of course, I'm awful wobbly. Well, then you wobble on skates.
Maybe we can try that someday.
I had a great life. Oh my God. You know, one time we were kids, we were running around behind the Slovenian Hall. And I stepped, oh my, yipe, picked up my foot and there was this board with a nail in it. And I picked up my foot and oh my God, mud. I pulled the board off. The nail came right up through between my toes here, you know. Cut my, not right through, but cut around my toe, you know, and here, blood. Oh my God. What am I going to say? So I ran home, tried to clean up my father. My father and I were always good friends. What are you doing? I'm crying, you know. He said, what happened? I was, don't go behind the hall. Don't go there. But of course, what do they know? They don't know anything. So I had to go behind the hall. We were playing. So my father patched me up. So then maybe 2-3 more years later, did you ever jump over a fire hydrant?
Yeah.
You know, you run and jump like this and you jump over it?
Yeah.
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 Okay, you got pants on, you could jump. I had a skirt on. Hey, man, did I ever get my skirt got caught and I wangled right down on my... And the kid, and of course I was a tomboy. I was always climbing trees with the boys. And my father says, if he can do it, you can do it. Oy, 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 my nose. Oh my God, my blood. And of course the kids got scared. All the boys came running back, you know, to see where I was. I wasn't behind him. I was hanging on a fire hydrant. And oh, that was terrible. That was awful. And I never knew, I thought my nose, it felt terrible. And I never knew that my nose was actually broken until maybe it's about 4 years ago, that I went to Herkimer. I had something, it seemed I couldn't breathe. And there was something in there that was obstructing it. So I went to the doctor and he says, no, he says, go to the clinic in Herkimer, and there's a lady there, she'll take care of you. So I went and so she's sitting over there and she's takes this thing, she looks in my ears, she looks in my eyes, then she starts looking at my nose, she says, oh, when did you have a broken nose? I never had oh my God. I says, oh my God, I'll bet any money I actually broke my nose when I banged it against the fire hydrant. I must have. Because she said, oh yeah, you had a broken nose, all right. Never. I thought maybe I did. Oh, next day, you should see me next day. I looked like a raccoon. Oh my, I was all black around here. Oh, it was terrible. My mother says, "What happened?" I fell down. My father looked at me and said, "Oh, gee, my poor father." It's a wonder I didn't drive him to the grave. He was always trying to cover for me. No, but we had we really had a great life.
Could you tell me more about what school was like?
What?
School?
Hmm?
Like going to school?
Well, it was just going to school. And when I was 14, I wanted to quit because all the girls quit. And they, you know, during Depression, every chance they had to get a job, everybody would go get a job. And I wanted to go get a job too. But in the first place, I was too small to get a job anywhere. And I was only 14. He says, wait till you're 16, then you could quit and go to school. Quit and go to work. Well, by the time I was 16, I was in high school. And I said, geez, I don't think I want to go. They were changing classes, you know, and doing the same thing, you know. You had different teachers for different stuff. Where over here in Jefferson Street, we had one teacher, and we stayed right there all the time. We just changed books.
Excuse me.
So when I came to be 16, my mother says, okay, you could quit school now. I don't want to quit school. Well, you quit school now and go to work. Well, I'm not going to go to work. I'm going to stay in school. Well, that's when my sister Betty went to New York for something. I don't know what she went to New York for. And she was working for Coach Crisp. And she asked me if I would work after school there. So that's how I didn't have to go to work in a mill. That I went to work for Coach Crisp. And I stayed there till I graduated in 35. And I put myself through school. And he'd yell at me like he yelled at the girls. If I needed a good whack, he gave me a good whack on the rear end, like Joanne and Nancy got. I lived there with him for the 5 years. And I'd only go home once in a while the only time I went home to church was when we had communion. And we didn't have it every Sunday then. We couldn't afford the wafers and the wine. So we just had communion for Christmas and Easter and Palm Sunday and, you know, stuff like that. So then I'd go home to have communion, to go to church. Otherwise, I stayed right there and lived right with them. And I wasn't the smartest tack in the bunch, you know, but I was in the middle of my class. That was good enough for me, but I had to work besides studying. So I couldn't study all the time like I wanted to, but I made it.
How many people were in your grade in school? Do you remember?
We had 135 in my graduating class. The biggest class up to that time and the biggest class since that time. 135. Yeah.
I think there was 85 in my class in 2000 that graduated.
Yeah.
So.
and we still have that. And I still have 4 friends. One just died. And we still have our class reunion. They come here. Only this time they're not coming here because my place is all torn up. So Betty Wurzbacher said, oh, well, we haven't decided yet where we're going to go. Maybe we'll just go out for dinner or something. But no, but it was, and you know, when I went to school, first to be a secretary. I thought that sounded pretty good. I didn't want to be a nurse. And so that was either be a nurse or secretary. And when we graduated, all my friends went to work. To the hospital, the bank, the doctor's offices, and any other office, like the factories had office help. Right from high school. This was right from high school that we went to work in for anybody. We didn't have to go for more. One of the girls, yeah, I think Sue Doviak did. Anyway, one of the girls went to Utica School of Commerce. And when I talked to her, she says, I didn't learn anything more than I had from the teachers that taught us. So, and the girls, till we were old people, they were still, some of them were still working in the offices. I know this one girl, she was an old lady, and she still had her job from the time she had a high school education. So what more could you ask for? Or the boys would go to woodworking shop, and they'd end up being carpenters, and knowing how to set in a window, or fix a door, or anything like that, or any of those stuff like that. But now, you got to go to college to know how to hammer a nail. I didn't even know how to hammer a nail. I was up on the roof putting a roof, so. I mean, this is ridiculous that you have to go to college. You have to go to college. Use your brains. But everybody says, oh, you got to have a college education or I can't give you a job. That's what the law says. Hey, our laws. I'd like to be president of the United States. I'd show the laws. No, it's ridiculous because our kids get out of school and they can't seem to get a job. All these kids getting out of college now, where are they? Home with mommy and papi.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, where are you? Thank God you got a job, Buster.
For now.
For now. Never mind. Keep your nose clean. No, it was an entirely different education, and I don't think they made it any better by making saying, well, if you don't have this, if you don't have the paper, hey, Tom was working in London in a hospital. 5 years he worked in the hospital. He came here. I can't remember the man's name that was in the hospital at the time. And I went and I talked to him when Tom said he was coming home. And I thought, geez, that'll be great. Because Tom hadn't gone to college. He's going to go to college. But he could always talk to this man because Tom thought maybe he would like to be in the hospital, big, the administration, or yeah, that's what you call it. Yeah, that's what you call it.
Yeah, administrator.
Well, when he came here, this man himself told me, when I talk to your son, he's talking to me, and I says, oh my God. Of course, they would bring all the soldiers in and everything. Well, they were actually in the war, but you get in a lot of trouble. You still could get in a lot of trouble being over in England. And the things that their broken feet or broken arms and everything. And the way Tom talked to this man that was in our hospital here, he says, I never saw any of that stuff. And he was running our hospital. And he told me, he says, Tom's got a better education doing, not the paper. But he says, I couldn't hire him. He hasn't got the paper. What good is that damn paper? You tell me. I mean, that's what gets me. Some of these kids are so smart that it's just natural to them to do this job that they're doing. I love it. But I can't get a job. The guy can't give me a job because I haven't got the paper to give him. I think that is the most stupid, idiotic thing that you could. I don't know. I'm living too old. I'm living too long. Everything is annoying me when it comes to our schools. It's I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me that you wouldn't give this guy give him a shot at it. Let him take a chance. My poor father, he never had an education. Jake, you know how old Jake was when he went out? His father died at 14. He had to quit school. He went to work, 10 cents an hour, 70 hours a week. So about an hour later, I heard John say, "Boy, did she get you?" And of course, one of the bedroom is on one side and the other one is on the other side. He said, boy, did she ever, you should see it. So John says, come on over. And I heard John getting out of his bedroom, quietly going over the hall, over the top. John says, wow. So and about half an hour later, Tom says, Mom, I want to show you something. I don't want to see it. I said, you made me so mad. I said, you came home, I haven't seen you in all this time, and I said, you come home and you upset me. And I said, I don't want to see you. Well, I want to show you something. I don't want to see it. So he comes downstairs anyway. He pulls his pants down, and my God. You know how big that stick was. And Tom's not a little skinny, fat rear end, So his rear end was pretty good size. So and he says, you know what? He said, I'm looking in a mirror. Boy, he says, I hope that lasts till there was this sergeant. He got all this paper and stuff, from England. He was going to Lakenheath, to England, to our base in England. And his sergeant was going to be Sergeant Alvarez, and he was going to be his boss at the barracks. So he says, I wish this would stay until I could show it to my sergeant. And I said, well, I'll tell you, Tom, if you act up again like you did with your brother, I said, you're going to get another one on the other side and you'll have a pair to go. And of course we laughed about it then. But boy, that must have hurt because, and you got the nails on your overalls, the studs. When I hit it, it sounded like an explosion with something exploded because all this bang, the tin, hit that. Oh my God, it was a riot. Oh God, that was something. So then, oh my God, then Tom's in the service. And I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I just couldn't. And Jake says, well, he writes, and we used to call up every Saturday night. He'd never been more than across the street, except going to college. So then Jake says, you know what, let's call him up. Are you crazy? All the way to England? Oh, no, it costs too much money. Well, then stop worrying about him. If anything happens, you'll be the first to know. Jeez, I didn't like it. So I get this letter, and then he says, he was still he came in, he's in there, and he said, the way he said it, I don't know, they have to stand at the end of their bed, a bunk or whatever, bunk, I think it was a bunk. You stand at the end of your bunk, and you have to stand there at ease, and the guy looks at your bunk and looks it over, and he says, the guy walks up to me, he was a little Mexican guy, just my size. When I went to see him, he was my size. So he says, Sergeant Alvarez looks up at me, he says, a wise guy, huh? And Tom said, geez, I looked at him. He's writing this in the letter, I got this letter from him. He says, I look at the guy, says, no, what do you mean wise guy? He says, I'm trying to find something wrong, and I can't find it. He says, well, no, he says, how come you're so smart? Well, you didn't know my mother. So sure enough, I got to write him a letter. So I wrote him, and I told him, I said, you're darn right, you don't know me, and you better keep your nose clean, and I don't mean perhaps, and I'll come over with my stick. You know the stick? I says, I'll come right over with my stick, and I'll clean the whole damn barracks out. So Tom gets the letter. He puts it on a bulletin board. So I go to England. Finally, I'm really a nervous wreck because we talk to him on a telephone every couple of weeks. He's lying. I know that kid. I know he's very unhappy, and I could almost. I know he's not happy. He sounds good to me. maybe he sounds good to you, but he doesn't sound good to me. And I was really getting to Jake already. Jake was really to beat me up already. So he came home one day. He says, "Here, envelope. Oh my God. Airline to Europe. Oh, Joe, a trip to Europe for 2 weeks. Oh my God. And I'm going to go to England to stay with Tom for 4 days. Oh my God. Well, he says, I can't stand it. He says, you're a nervous wreck. You're making me a nervous wreck. I want you to go over and see what he actually is like. Here, I'm going all the way to England all alone. I've never been on an airplane in my life. And I'm going, oh my God. But I went. Tom fixed me up at the airport. He looks pretty good. All dressed up in a suit, tie, necktie. And I'm looking around for a soldier. I don't see anybody anymore. Somebody hollering, Mommy! Oh, Mommy. Oh, Mommy. Oh my God! So this guy is hollering, Mommy. Everybody's looking, who the hell's some guy hollering, Mommy, big this guy. Because, oh, huggy, you know. And that was it. Stayed there for 4 days. He had 4 days off. And of course, every time, and then when John went to stay with him, he had to add this on to his service. So he ended up being there 5 years instead of only 4, because he had to add on every time he took time off. And Tom loved it. He just loved it. And he was working in the hospital, and ended up coming home. And that's it. You know the rest about Tom coming home. That was it. Went to college. Went to Buffalo to school. And when John was in the hospital, Sylvia took care of him. And that's where Sylvia met Tom. And they started going together because Tom had other girls. She couldn't be bothered with Sylvia. So one time Sylvia came home. She lived in Kanjahari. She came over and John says, and Tom says, if you pay me, I'll take her out. So sure enough. And that was it. But they always got along. I really honestly, unless they had fights that I wasn't in on, that I wasn't home, or they had fights, something, they wouldn't dare have a fight at a bar, because I would know about it. The cops would tell me about it, because the cops and I were like this. And I told Frank, I mean it. You see my kids doing anything? I says, I want to know about it. Don't pussyfoot, because you and I are good friends. I says, I want to know about it. He says, you'll be the first to know before I even tell anything to them, you know. But I never had a problem with them.
Golf, or you playing golf, or
Golf?
Jake. Yeah, well, like your whole family and how it all started.
Well, John, he was real little thing. Tom never went for it. Never went for it.
What about Jake? When did he start playing?
He went to work in the shoe factory. And at that time, the country club did not allow certain people to go to, well, let's face it, they would not allow Jewish people in the country club. So Jake's boss was Jewish. And they were going to have some kind of a tournament. What kind of tournament they going to have? These guys, they were all hard-working people. They didn't have time for tournaments or anything. So some guy had a brilliant idea they're going to try golf. Brilliant idea, too damn expensive. So sure enough, Harry Siegel was the boss. So that they figured, if these guys that are not Jewish could go up there and play golf, maybe Harry Siegel could go up and play golf. So that's how it started. And sure enough, that's how it started. And they had Manny Feldman was up there, but Manny Feldman was one of us. He had a store here that everybody went to Manny with any kind of trouble, anything was going wrong, Manny Feldman was the guy that got him out of trouble. And they finally ended up, and then we just stayed there. Jake went to play golf weekends with the guys. That's right, we joined in 39 when we got married. That's when Harry wanted to go. And I said, well, Jake, it's up to you. If you think you could afford paying for furniture, that we bought furniture that we were both, he had to pay for, that I wasn't paying for furniture. And I said, if you think you could afford going up to the country club, playing a game of golf, and every now and then I'd give him the money for golf, you know, I didn't, but I bought, when we built a house, I paid for all the machinery that we needed for finishing the floors, and I bought wallpaper, not wallpaper, I got wallpaper free from one of Jake's customers when he was selling papers, but I bought all the kids' clothes. You know, I bought things that were not every single day, like your rent, your food, your lights, your telephone, and then of course when we had the TV, the things that had to be paid, they had to be paid every week. There's no two ways about it. Like food, you don't have to go buy food every week. You know you don't. You got enough food in your house to keep you a week without buying every day. You don't have to do that. So that's what I was doing, buying things that we did not have to pay for every week. My sister and I took a trip to Italy that was absolutely fantastic. I took a trip, 10,000-mile trip around the United States, which was something that everybody should take.
Yeah.
And that cost me $50, the bus. 1 month, Mark, $50 on the bus.
When did you do that?
They were having some kind of a promotion. And I heard this at night. I couldn't sleep. In fact, I'm still not sleeping. Oh, that sounds interesting. You buy a book, you know, like a Chits. And every time you got on the bus, you got it punched. And it would only cost you $50. I don't know if this was, in 80, or whatever, I don't know when it was, but it was a long time ago now. So I couldn't wait to get out of bed and call my sister in the morning. So I called her, I said, hey, how about you and I? And we used to go on trips, little trips, by bus trips, one day. So we went, and we went to Utica to find out what it was all about. So we went, and we go there, and the guy says, have you girls got any idea where you want to go? Because I have to put it on here, your first, you know, east, west, wherever you're going. Well, we can't go to New York, because if we go to New York, my sister Betty will say, you can't go home yet, I want you to stay here with me. Yeah, but if we go west, we're going to go to Cousin John. It's easier getting away from John than it'll be from getting away west. So the guy looks, he says, do you girls really want to go on this trip? Yeah, we really want to go, but we can't make up our minds. So he says, okay, give us the west, go to Chicago. So we started on that. It was fantastic. We could get off anywhere we want to and get back on the next bus. 10,000 miles. I figured it all out. All around the outside edges, you know. It was fantastic. Fantastic. But outside of that, my life was great. Just loved every bit of it. Still am. I'm still enjoying it. Old lady and all.
Yeah.
Now you know the rest of it, living here, having to give, that was another thing, heartbreaking to have to give up your house. But outside of that, I like it here. Everybody's nice. And come and go as I please. Don't have anyone to answer to. Except John every now and then. Shut up. It's none of your business.
Suzy, tell me about how you met Jake.
When I was working for Crisp, she used to order from Frank's Meat Market. That's where Jake worked. And he used to bring the groceries Saturday morning. And he says, he used to watch me when I used to run across in front of his store. I used to, Betty and Angela and I used to, when we were going to school, of course we had to go up Ann Street, to get to high school. And he told his boss one day, he says, I'm going to marry that little girl over there. And Frank says, no, you won't, because she's the different religion than you are. And if you think you're going to marry her, father will kill you and her. And if he doesn't kill him, the mother's going to kill you and her. So, and I didn't know about this, but he told me after we got married, I was always afraid of your mother and father were going to kill me. I said, oh, come on. And but anyway, she used to buy all the meat from Frank. And so Jake always came up with a grocery. He wasn't the driver. He wasn't the delivery guy, because they had some other guy that was delivering. But Saturdays, Jake says he will deliver Coach Crisp's meat, groceries, So Frank found out that I worked there. He says, oh, is that why you're going over there? Because Suzy's working over there. And of course, Frank didn't know it for a long time, because Jake was wanting to deliver groceries on Saturdays, but not the rest of the days, But that's where I met him, actually, because I don't think I ever was in a store until after that. After I started working in a shoe factory that was across the street. But as long as I was going to school and just working for Coach Crisp, I never even paid attention to the store. We just ran past it and ignored it, because my mother never bought us there. We bought ours on Jefferson Street. Our grocery store was on Jefferson Street. And so that's after. Then he started coming around more often. Every now and then at night, he'd come by and he'd say, could I sit on the porch with you? And I'd say, I don't think so. And I whisper, I don't think so. Coach Chris said, who's that guy? Get him out of here. Oh, he was worse than my father. And I told him, I said, you're worse than my father. I says, even though Jake isn't my religion, my father wouldn't be that nasty to him. And the funny thing is, Coach yelled that I don't want him around here. I don't want him around here. I said, then you're not going to get any groceries, and I'm not going to do any more cooking. Because I did I was only 16, and I was cooking for a family of 5 already. And so he says, Jake's got a car, doesn't he? I says, yes, he has. So he said, you think he'd let me take it? Why should he let you take it? You're always hollering that he's no good, he's a kid, he should be in school and all that kind of stuff. Sure, he should be in school, but he's supporting a mother and 3 kids. Imagine a 14 years old to support a mother and 3 other kids at home. Oh, I don't know, 20-year-old now that will go and support a mother and kids. And so that's how we started. And Jake let him take the car. He says, should I let him take the car? And I said, no. I said, because he's always hollering. Every time you call me up, he said, get off that telephone. Every time you come over and want to sit on a porch and talk, he sends you home. Don't give him the car. Maybe if I let him have the car, maybe he'll let me. And sure enough, he did. He let him have the car, and wouldn't you know, he got in an accident. So I said, see that? He doesn't know how to drive. Jake, why did you let him take the car? The coach, he must be nuts. He doesn't know how to drive. And then I really had it over. I had it over on the coach, And boy, was he a good friend of mine after that. Because he was tough. Oh, you never knew him, did you? Coach Crisp.
No.
He was tough. But all the guys loved him. Unless they were a goof off. If you were a goof off, you didn't like him, because he knew it right away. And he told you, you're nothing but a goof off, and that's all you're going to be for the rest of your life. And he told right to your face, but he was not mean, but he was very strict and fair. I thought he was very strict and fair with his girls and with me too. He was very fair. If I did something wrong, he told me why. You don't do that. And What do you mean? Why can't I do that? Because ladies don't do things like that, you know. And my mother say, you're not doing it, and that's it. You know, I mean, no explanation. When I say no, it's no. You know, and but no, Jake was. He was really a good son, and well, even at the time we got married, we were still supporting. Well, we had to support her. We all had to chip in. All everybody. They had 6 kids, I think. And we all had to chip in every week to keep her going until she died. Well, she didn't have anything else. Never had Social Security, so she didn't have anything to get it from. Never worked, so she didn't have anything to get money from. But Jake was a good son, and then my mother didn't like him. The only reason she didn't like him because he wasn't a Lutheran. Let's face it. I mean, that's the only reason. And every time she said, "I suppose you're going to marry him," I don't know, and I wouldn't tell her. And that's what got her. And my father says, "Marry him," and I said, "I think so." Talking over my mother's head. Oh, no, but Jake was great. There was nothing I ever wanted that he didn't. Boy, especially when the first time, this is really something. The first time he went out on a job for Mr. Cohn to be a salesman, you know. And of course, Jake was a salesman. He was always selling something. So Mr. Cohn talks to Jake, and he says, "You know, Jake, and Ralph Burrows was the first one." He said, "Go to Reg Cohn's, and he'll give you a job." So Mr. Cohn says, "You know, Jake, a salesman does not get a salary. If you don't earn it, you're not going to get it. You've got to sell." So Jake says, "You know, I think I could sell." And I knew he could, because he sold my mother a can opener. And my mother hated his guts. And he still sold my mother a can opener that I'm not going to, if you want to sell my mother a can opener, you sell my mother the can opener. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. And he did. He went over to my mother and asked her if she wanted a can opener. At that time when they were putting them on the wall. That was the first, he was the first one to have them put it on the wall. Nice can, good can opener. And that was nice. Yeah, she bought one. Holy my God, I thought the whole sky's going to fall on us. Then my mother did something nice, and then Jake was all right, you know. And but he was something else. So Mr. Cohn says, "You know, Jake, if you don't sell, you're not going to get any money." So Jake starts going. He says, "You know," I said, "Where are you going to go? I mean, how are you going to start? You're going to be a salesman. What are you going to sell?" Well, he says, "I was down to the factory, and they showed me all the stuff that they make, you know, Jake's factory. And he says, I think I could sell that." So I says, "Well, okay." So he looked at me, he says, "I don't have any money." He says, "Would you give me some money?" And he knew I had money because I had a job. And the job that he had when he was working, everything went in the house. That we bought furniture and everything no extra money for anything. So there was nothing extra. But my money, I didn't pool my money. I says, "You're not going to know how much I'm making. I'm going to buy the cake and ice cream. And you're going to buy the coal and the fire and everything else and the food. That's going to be your job. I'm buying cake and ice cream." And he kind of looked at me. He says, "You mean you're not going to help me?" I said, "Nope." And I says, "We're going to have kids?" I says, "You're going to have to take care of all of them, everybody." I says, I'm not going to give you any money at all. My money's going in the bank." Well, he didn't think that was very nice. Sorry, but that's the way it's going to be. So sure enough, He said, how much you going to give me? I said, how much you think you'll need? Well, let me see. He says, I'll have to be there at least a couple of days. Where are you going? Well, I don't know. Maybe Syracuse or Rochester or someplace. I don't think he'd ever been to Rochester in his life. Well, we were to Niagara Falls for our honeymoon, but that was just back and forth. You know, we never stopped anywhere. So he says, how about $100? He's going to go for 3 days on $100? I said, okay, I'll give you $100. So I gave him $100. And I felt terrible after he took off because I thought, gee, he's got to pay his room and board. He's got to pay for gas. He's got to eat. What? Oh my God, I felt terrible. I thought, maybe he's not even going to come back. You say, nuts to you, lady. You know, I'm better off be without you. So sure enough, he came back home after 3 days. And I said, how was it? He says, I think I sold some stuff. I think I sold paper. I said, oh, great. He says, I brought you a present. I says, what do you mean you brought me a present? What did you use for money? He says, oh, I had money. Well, you said you didn't have any. Well, you gave me $100. I said, but Jake, what did you live on? Oh, he says, I'd have a hamburger every now and then. 3 days? I said, where'd you sleep? He said, I slept in the car. Oh my God. I said, you're crazy. I said, so wonder the cops didn't put you. Well, he says, I slept in some, like in big stores, they have a place you could go in and park, you know. And he says, I was a friend of this guy's. He says, I was in a store and we got to talking, and the guy says, oh, you haven't got I haven't got any place to park. He says, you know, when you're ready to go, come on, I'll let you park under the hotel, you know, like you park underneath your hotels. And he said, that's where he parked. And he slept there 3 nights that he was gone. So he brought me a bag, beautiful, a plastic bag, all flowers on it and everything. He brought me a sweater. I still got the sweater. In fact, I just put it away. I'm just going to wash it. And something, in a mirror, my mirror in my bathroom. And as he was giving me the mirror, it fell. And you know, in the house we had the rug, and then the rug in the hall, and there was this much space of wood, hardwood floor, that the mirror fell instead of on the rug. Cracked right in half, cross. The mirror is right there, right on the sink, right now in the bathroom. I picked it up, and this cross, right across the magnifying glass. I'm telling you, it made me feel so bad. He brought me these 3 presents, and I dropped one. Well, I thought he was holding it. He thought I was holding it.
Yeah.
Well, too bad. So he says, well, at least I think I brought some, I think I brought some work. So, I said, Lord, please let there be some work tomorrow morning. So sure enough, tomorrow morning he went to work. He gave all the pieces of paper, everything he had written on it. And Mr. Cohen and the guy in hairy suits in the office, they looked the papers over and they said, gee, Jake, this sounds pretty good. Hey, this was pretty good. And sure enough, I don't know. Well, I can't remember what his first pay was. And he came home, and they gave him his first pay because they knew he didn't have any money. And I told Mr. Cohen, I said, he's not getting any of my money. He's going to have to earn it. Because you start living on 2 salaries, and I get pregnant, you don't know what to do. That's the problem nowadays. Kids learn to live on 2 salaries. She gets pregnant, they're shot. So Mr. Cohen says, that was pretty good. That was all right. I think you did all right. Well, sure enough, he got a salary. He says, oh my God, he says, he says, I can't believe that I did this. His first salary. Yeah. And from there on, you know Jake, he had it made. And we're bringing $1 million every year to the paper factory. And that's what kept it going all this time. Until when Jake left, then Billy Burrows took over. So Billy's got, I don't know who is out on the road now, but all the while. And that's why Burrows were very good to me too after Jake died. That they took care of me while, after Jake died. They were real good with my insurances and everything. So, but that's how Jake started out, being 14 years old, going to work. And you worked from the time he was 14. Yeah.
Suzy, tell me about, do you remember when Jake proposed to you? Or kind of any of that thing around that time?
Yeah, I can't remember. Oh, he had this good friend. He had a hock shop. And he came in one day. He says, how does this look? Where'd you get that? He says, well, his guy's name was Dan. He said, Dan said he'll let me have this for I don't know how much. I can't remember what it was. Beautiful diamond. You think I'm going to have a diamond that somebody else had that went in a pawn shop? What are you, nuts or something? Not me. Forget it. If you can't buy me a decent diamond, I don't want anything. And that's all there was to it. So poor Jake had to pocket the damn thing and go beg it back to Dan. Oh, that was terrible. That was a mean thing to do to poor Jake. But he did. He took it back to Dan. And Dan probably thought, that witch. But next time, Jake was working across the street in Gregory Refrigeration when he had the store. You wouldn't know that. There was a jewelry store across the thing there. And he bought me a diamond there. In fact, it was there long before he was in the business. So he bought one from there and brought it. And he came, I didn't know it, but he came to pick me up one night when I was still home. And he said, how about this one? Oh, the one I gave your mother. In fact, she didn't want the big one. I've got like this one. She didn't want this one. She wanted the round one. So I said, you could have your choice, Susan, either this one or the other one. And she said she wanted the other one. So Susan's got my engagement ring. And that was it. When I saw that one, I thought, oh, that's a nice one. And of course, Jake had a better job and everything by then. And we kept on going from there on in. And finally, I had to quit my job because I was working. I liked my jobs, both of them. Working in a shoe factory and working in a dress shop where I would make the top of the dresses. Till the doctor says, no way you're going to stay home. So I had to stay home, take care of kids instead. No, everything, I didn't have any problem with either one of my kids. I had two cesareans with both of my kids, but no problem with any of them. Well, John he died on the operating table, you know about that. And when the two doctors came down and says, 15 years old and died on the operating table. No, he didn't. I said, the Lord, Mark, this is no lie. The Lord stood right in front of me. And he said, Suzy, don't worry, Johnny's going to be all right. And Dr. Ashley, Dr. Vickers, and Dr. Muller, all three of those doctors said, no, he's dead. No, Dr. Burke was there. Dr. Burke was one of the doctors, not Muller. Dr. Muller wasn't there. Dr. Vickers wasn't there. Well, Muller was there because Muller came to our church, and he was telling me this afterwards. And while I'm telling him, I said, get upstairs and take care of him because he's going to be all right. Then all the speaking system through the hospital starts screaming, Dr. Burke, Dr. Ashley, Dr. Burke, Dr. Ashley. And Dr. Burke says, oh God, I wish I had some of your religion right now. I said, I got enough for all of us. Get up there and take care of him. And they did. He came to, as the Lord told me he was going to, and he did. I never saw him, but when I picked up my head to say thank you, he was gone. And he was in the hospital for 28 days. 28 days. Did you ever see his scar across the belly? That's from here to there, he's cut. And that's an appendix. An appendix operation is this big now, half an inch. This is John. He burst open like a rotten balloon. He was full of peritonitis. And that's why they didn't give him a chance. After he came to, that they didn't think that he'd make it. For 28 days he had all tubes all in him, and he was such a stinking mess. And they kept flushing him with the water and everything. It was just terrible. He was in an oxygen tent, and the kids from school. You know, Mark, everybody says the kids damn stupid, lousy brats and everything. Those kids, and they let all the kids, no matter if 10, 20 kids came in, they let all the kids. He's going to die. I mean, he was dying. So that, as long as the kids came to visit him, they didn't care how many kids came. And I swear, the Lord and all those kids just straightened him out. Look at him now. Yeah. But Dr. Ashley says, and even Burke, because the two of them were with him. And when he said, when he put the scalpel in something, it just burst right open. All mess, all over. And that's why he's done for. He was done for. And the machine quit, everything quit. And they came down to tell me he died, but he didn't die because the Lord says, no, he doesn't want her yet. So there's John, still going strong. And that was the only time that he ever was in anything, that either one of my kids. Well, Tom fell. Tom went to a YMCA camp, and this friend of ours was running the Y. And he says, you know, Tom, I think Tom would like to go to camp with the kids. And he was too small yet. He was not old enough legally to go to the camp with these kids. But John was taking him anyway, not John, the guy's name from the Y. And so I said, what do you think? Should we let him go? And the two of them, both Tom and John, were such friends. They never, ever argued. And the only, because Tom always let John have his way. Always. And I was so mad at Tom. Give him a swat, slap him. Don't let him get away with it. I'm not going to slap him. He's my brother. He always called him my baby brother. Every now and then, once in a while, he's my baby brother, you know. And John's bigger than Tom. And so they took him. The YMCA took him to Old Forge, to the Boy Scout camp up in that neck of the woods somewhere. And he fell and hurt himself. And we got a call on a Friday night, 9 o'clock, and they couldn't keep him, because they were responsible for him. They had to get rid of the kid before. So we drove, John, and I was too nervous, I couldn't go. So he drove all the way to Old Forge on Friday night, I think it was either Friday or Saturday night, and came home all the way. And Dr. Ashley lived on Albany Street that time. He had, or Burl Street, Burl Street. he had his a house on there, and that was his office. So I went over and I rang his doorbell. Everything was dark. He came down and said, "Oh my God, what happened?" I said, "I got Tom here." So right away he took Tom in and looked him over, and he said, "No, I don't think so." He says, I don't think he's got anything inside, but he had already by then it was getting kind of blue around here, you know, a bruise, just a bruise. And he says, "How's he acting?" I says, "Well, he says it hurts, but did he throw up? Did he do?" The doctor kept asking me, "Did he did this and this and that?" And I said, "No. Did he eat?" "Well, he ate, but did he keep it?" I said, "No, he kept it. He did throw up." "Well, no, we won't put him in the hospital." So he came home, and the next day he got up and he ate breakfast, and I said, "Well, what were you looking for?" I asked the doctor the next day. I said, "What were you looking for?" He says, "I thought he may have a ruptured spleen," but evidently he didn't. And that's it. Those are the only two bad things that happened to me with my kids. For two boys, that was pretty good. Pretty good.
So what were Tom and John like as kids, as far as how did they act toward each other, or were they friends, or what?
Great. Never. I never saw them fight. Never. And that's what made me mad. That's what John was a lousy brat. He was a brat. And Jake let him get away with everything. And I suppose I did too. And Tom did too. He got away with it. Every once in a while, he got a good swat. But they never, to this day, they're good friends to this day. You know. And I don't know why. Maybe because from the time I was pregnant that he kept saying, "My baby." He kept calling him my baby all the time, even before he was born. I thought, you make sure that there's going to be somebody else here. You're not the only guy here, you know. And I think that's why people make such a mistake. Oh, you're going to have a baby. And they don't feel that. Did you feel that? That's your baby. And you know, if you bring the kid thinking that that's going to be his baby, because I know a lot of my friends had problems with when they had the second one, because the kids didn't like it. In fact, Suzanne, she and Stephen had quite a few upsets, because one time she pushed him off the bed. She didn't want him in the bed, and so I don't know how Betty, how she prepared Susan or anything. But after they got to be a little older, well, then Susan realized that, well, then Betty died, and then the other lady that Bart married, her name was Betty too. And so I don't know how they were at home, but every time they came to my house, they got along as little kids, because I'm their godmother, so they came to visit. And then Bart used to bring the kids here on a Friday night. And Bart used to bring the kids on a Friday night and leave them here all a weekend for Mrs. Smolik. And so I told him, I said, "No," I says, "I don't want you bringing them here anymore." I says, "You're a family." I says, and they had a church, the Catholic Church. In fact, Susan, they were baptized in my church. And of course, Grandma Smolik felt bad that I wouldn't take them every weekend. Well, I couldn't take them every weekend because Dr. Ashley made me quit, because I was having a nervous breakdown, I think, trying to do everything. I had Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts. I had the Hawaii Mothers. I had the school. I had the church council. I had so many things going besides everything else that I was a nervous wreck. So I had to quit everything. And I could not have two kids come in every weekend to take care of them as much as I should have, That was my job, but I couldn't do it. So I told Bart, I says, you and Betty are getting married. I says, you see that they go to your church, which was a Catholic church. And of course, Grandma, oh my God, she felt bad. I says, Martin Luther was a Catholic. So I was Catholic way before you were Catholic. I says, the Lutheran is Catholic from way back. So what are you arguing about? Let's not have an argument about it. So Susan and Stephen went to the Catholic Church. And no problem. I don't think they had a problem when growing up or anything. They went to church and that's all there was to it. And why should you have a problem? If the kids are fighting, give each a slap. I didn't start it. I don't care if you started it, I'm finishing it. No problem. No problem. Geez, you remember the stick I had?
Yeah, I do.
What happened to it? Laura took it. What happened to it? I wonder if she's got it.
I don't know.
She probably threw it away. She was afraid she's going to use it on somebody. Yeah, I'd like that stick back again. I'd like to hang it on my wall. Let me tell you, I made that stick myself, I carved it all out nicely with a chisel down in the cellar, and then I sandpapered it and varnished it. That was a beautiful paddle.
I think I got
You got it once, and so did Laura. And that's all it took. That's all it took. And you know what? I told that to Angry Marco one time. I said, I don't want to hit the kids. I didn't want to hit them either, but you know what, Mark? I swear to God, this man by the name of Dr. Spock, I don't know if he's still living or not. He'll probably sue me. But I think he was nuts. The child will grow out of it. Some child doesn't grow out of it. Some child ends in jail or dead. I says, my child grew out of it real fast. Whack. He already grew out of it. One good whack, and he's out of it. And you know that, and your sister knew it. And John knew it, and Tom knew it. And
is there a political figure or person from history that you admire the most, or that you think was a great person that changed
in our government?
Or any person, and it could be someone you met or someone or someone that inspired you or you thought was.
No, I always thought I'd want to talk to the Pope. And I know when Master Catherine and I were in Italy, we wanted to go. We were in the Vatican. Oh my God, that's everybody should go see that, Catholic or not. And but he was up in the hills at that time at the Gandolfo residence or whatever they call it, So we never got around to that. But outside of that, I don't think there's anybody that I really, because I'm afraid I'd get into a fight with them.
Okay.
Especially the guy that if they're living now,
Yeah.
But no, if I ran across him somewhere, I'd give him an argument. But every now and then I come across somebody in town. One time there was some man, I can't remember who he was. He was somebody from our I think he was from the Herkimer County, big shot in the Herkimer County, And he was coming to the library. So I says, I think I'm going to talk to that guy. And so I went there, and who was there? George Cummings. You remember George Cummings? John Cummings' father. He was a principal in high school.
Must have been before my time.
Or maybe before your time. Well, anyway, he was there, and a couple of the big shots from town were there. So I think there were only 5 of us there. And he was a, what was he? Was he a Republican or? Yeah, he was a Republican. And I'm a registered Democrat, but I don't vote Democrat Party. I vote the guy. I don't care who you are. If I read about you, and I don't like what I'm reading about you, I'm not going to vote for it. I don't care if you're the best Democrat in the world. I don't want you. So we were there. We were discussing, just the 5 of us. And I was the only lady there. And you know me and my big mouth. So the guy comes in, and I could see, he says, "What am I doing here? Nobody's here, you know." And they're all Republicans. We were all Republicans. And I didn't know that they were Republicans, come to find out later on. So we were discussing that, and he says something about being there. He says, "Well, I expected a lot more people here." And I looked at him and I says, "Well, you know what?" I says, "You ought to be glad you got us." I said, "Because, we're all Republicans in a Democratic town, so you ought to thank the good Lord you even got 5 of us here." And then, of course, all the guys start laughing. "So you're the one who would say something like that." Well, I didn't say anything wrong, did I? I didn't say anything wrong. And oh my God. The men just roared, and especially a couple of the guys are very staid, all in their white tie and necktie and everything. So I'm telling you, we had a ball. We had a ball, and we talked about the city, we talked about the county. I loved it, and it was so impromptu that and I don't know, we just enjoyed it. And even the man came, he says, "This was a nice chat. I'm glad I came." And I said, "Well, I'm glad you came too." Oh, good Lord. I thought George Cummings is going to kill me, but no, he didn't. He says, "I'm glad you came." He says, "I don't know what we have talked about." But I never really was into politics. And even, I never, even like now when Roger was running for the mayor and when, Bob, I voted for Bob Peters because he's a good friend. And, but outside of that, I don't care who you are, I want you working for my city, not for yourself.
After you're gone, right? How do you think people will remember you? Or when someone says Suzy, what do you think they'll...
You mean that big mouth?
Think that's what it will...
Well, you know what one lady says? In fact, she's a good friend of mine. She says, we were in a group, and somebody said something. Oh, I know what it was. I was the president of the WCA. And of course, when you're the president of anything, you keep your mouth shut, you let other people talk, you're going to get in trouble. So you wouldn't remember that. Women had shoes, Mark, so help me God, the point of that shoe was so pointed that an actual point. Now, you know damn well right, women don't have shoes that their toes come about 4 inches from your toe. And all the ladies, I had probably sneakers like I have now, and all the other women had these shoes on. They all had their shoes off. They're all sitting there with bare feet. So somebody said something about my shoes, and I says, "Well, let me tell you something. I'm not going to pay $35 for a pair of shoes and have to carry them home and walk home barefooted." "Well, you got your nerve." And I said, "Well, you're all barefooted." Well, they thought it was a terrible thing. What was terrible about it? I didn't think there was anything terrible about it. So this one sitting there, she says, "Don't ask Sue Prestopnik anything, she'll tell you the truth." Well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to lie to you and say, "Oh, Mark, you look so handsome. What the heck's the matter? Why don't you go home, shave or comb your hair, do something?" No, that's what they're going to say. "Oh my God, we wouldn't dare say anything in front of her if she didn't." She'll tell, or any kids doing something. "Hey, what are you doing that for? You don't do that here in Little Falls. Maybe where you come from. Where are you from?" "Little Falls." "Then you don't do that here." And when I walk through the park, I think all the kids. No, if I see anything going on, I can't keep my mouth shut.
I think that runs in the family with John and myself.
My father was just like that. And Mark, and my mother was too. And I thought, when my mother died, I thought, well, she's only going to have the family that's going to be sitting, that we used to sit in, I don't even know what you call it anymore. I don't know what you call it. And you cannot, Mark, you cannot believe the young people that came to my mother's when you're in a funeral home, you know. And I didn't know these kids, because I didn't know those kids from the south side. I hadn't been lived home in years. So finally I told my father, I said, Pa, I said, who are all these kids? What's going on? Well, that one little boy that was crying, leaning over he was crying, leaning over her casket, crying. What's going on here? And he said, that little boy, his mother wasn't quite right. And she was all right, but she wasn't. And they didn't want to take her away, to take the little boy away from her. And my mother kind of got to him, you know, and that's why. And I thought, now isn't that strange that well, he was maybe about 12, 13 years old. Even like now, a child that is, he's a big deal already by now at this day and age, you know. But then they were just little kids. Years ago, our 12 and 13 years old were not big shots like they are now. They were little kids yet. And I could not believe all those young kids. And when my father died, the same thing. And because Mrs. Swanser was always fair with us. She never yelled at us if we weren't doing, and we had to be doing something, and then we'd go home and hope she doesn't tell our mother, because then we'd get it twice as hard. And but now, you say something to a kid and the mother's on your neck. How dare you speak like that to my child? And the child is nothing but a bum. And it's not right. I mean, you should be able to take care of your own city. I mean, they say Main Street first. First for what? There's going to be a dump. Everybody's spitting their gum and their papers and everything all over the street. I saw a guy drop something, and I said, hey, you dropped something. And he looked at me and he went and picked it up and threw it in the back of his car, in the back seat of his car. I don't care. I don't care who you are. I don't want you living in my city, because I like it. I was born here, damn it, I'm going to die here. Unless I go someplace and die someplace else. I don't intend to. No, but I don't do anything in front of me that it's not going to be right, because you're going to be called down on it.
Good. What would you say religion has played the role in your life?
That what?
That religion,
yeah,
and your beliefs. What role has that played in your life?
Oh my God!
What is it? And concisely, what do you think that?
Well, it's my religion, and I can't be without religion. But I'm not crazy about my religion. They say, oh my God, I'm the one, I go stand on a corner. No. When I was first married, I lived on Burl Street, across from the hospital, a couple of houses down this way. And in the wintertime, Jake would go hunting and fishing. And I had to walk from the hospital all the way on Jefferson Street. That was over a mile hike, you know, and then 1.5 miles hike home. And so I used to go with Jane to St. Mary's. All winter long, I went to St. Mary's Church, Catholic Church. And that's it. Martin Luther was a Catholic till he changed. So to me, you only have one God, and I couldn't live without him. I thank him every morning and every night that he's given me what I've got, and I've got my good kids. All my kids, how many kids have I got? I've got a lot of kids. Not only you and, geez, I don't even know how many I've got. I think there are about 19 of us. How could I? No, I couldn't possibly have 19. Then what's that? You, Laura and Joe, and 2 kids. That's 4. Who else has got 4? Jill and her husband and 2 kids. That's those 2. And Paul and Julie and her baby. And then 11. That's only 11. Where did I get? I know, I was counting the Prestopniks, 11 there. So you could imagine there, the group I've got there, with 11, and they're all married and they each got a couple of kids. So I think I got about 19 or 25 of us that are Jake and me, that we say these are my family. But, and not one that you could say gave us any trouble of any kind, with police, smoking, drinking, swearing, stealing, nothing. They were afraid to get killed. No, and there again, we didn't worry about our kids. You know, if any of our kids doing anything, any one of us will call them down on it. Any one of us, we never. Hey, that's my kid. You don't talk to my kid like that. He's your kid. He's your part of your family. And that's my mother says, don't ever do anything that you would make me and your father ashamed of you. That's all. That's all you have to say. Never did. But no, I couldn't live without my religion. I couldn't without my God. Which one? Either Catholic or Lutheran. It's the same thing. I mean, I just never even give it a thought. It's something that was inbred in all of us, every one of us, that, you know. When were you last at communion?
Yeah, this is an interview of you, not me.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Now, how about if I turn the tables on you now?
All right. Kind of on the same topic. What do you think happens after death?
Well, Mark, there's got to be something somewhere. I was watching television one night, and I can't remember what it was, or was some kind of a science program, and the guy says, do you know how far that thing went up in the air? 96,000 miles. 96,000 miles, Mark. There's got to be something somewhere that we're going to end up there. If not me, but my soul. And I'm expecting my soul to end up there. And there's a lot of people up there that I want to talk to, and I want to talk to them. Yeah. No, I think there's something somewhere. The Lord says, you're not going to die. You believe in me, you're not going to die. You might die, but your soul never dies. And that's what I'm banking on. And that's why I'm afraid to do anything, because somebody else is going to say, hey, I saw you do that down there.
Yeah.
No, I just couldn't live without my religion.
I didn't really ask you at all about Florida or living down there or anything.
Well, I wanted to stay, but Jake wouldn't stay. He didn't. He liked it, but the only reason he liked it because he could golf. But I liked it because I would plant something and I had it. Like here, you plant something and you keep your fingers crossed that it doesn't freeze. Oh my God, everything froze on me this winter. Oh, the right by, as you come in the door, like where we are now, you know, where we have to come in sideways, all that, we had all these red poppies. You should have seen them. It was beautiful. And the whole thing on the left-hand side there, as you come in, this bigger piece. And in the front there, we had a lot of nice flowers. I'm only sorry that Susan's mother couldn't have lived longer. She would have loved the kids. Blood poisoning. You know, outside of that, my life has been great. I've had a great life. Great life, great kids, great grandkids. You better be, or there's going to be a problem. No, I just...
All right. Thanks, Suzy, so much for
you're
doing
welcome.
the interview.
Welcome.
And are there any secrets that you have for longevity, or, you know, not everyone lives to almost 100 and is so sharp, as healthy as you are.
I learned not to worry too late in life. because the things you worry about most, 9 times out of 10 don't come to pass. Oh, how I worried about that. Oh my God, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat. Dr. Ashley says, if you don't stop that, I'm going to send you to Marcy. At that time, Marcy was a nut house. I can't help it, I'm worried. Why worry about it? Why worry about it? I don't know, I can't stand it, I gotta worry. Nothing happened. Why, you jerk. All that worrying, no sleeping, no eating. Why worry? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. You worry or not, if it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Believe me, it's going to happen. If it's supposed to happen. So I just, Lord, it's up to you. I thank you for everything you've done. And take care of me and mine. And so far, he's been great. He's taken care of all my kids. All 90 of them or whatever I counted. I better stop counting. I got more and more, and I don't know where they're coming from. 100. When I get to be 100, I'll start worrying again. No more. I just, and I don't overeat. A lot of times you say, geez, I'd like some more of that. Yeah, but look all the calories you got that you don't need. You're going to have to get out and run around the block. So you put the fork down instead. I said, I know how to build a house. I said, Jake and I build our house. Oh, yeah. And we did. Tony Arena came in, he showed us how to build it. You do it like this. If you don't do it like that, you're going to rip it apart and do it over again. Yeah. Let me tell you, I was from the making cement up to the roof. And worry, hey, that's when you worry when you're starting to build a house. Especially when you're on top of the roof and you're afraid to come down. Oh, that was stupid. That was stupid. I was laying on the roof crying. Jake says, if you don't come down off that roof, I'm going to yank you by the foot and I'm going to throw you off the roof. Poor Jake. Oh, I don't know how he lived so long with me. Almost 65 years.
Is that how long you two were married?
Well, I don't know. We were married in 1939, so figure out how long we were married. No, somewhere in there. I don't know how long we were married, but that ought to be done by now.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Suzy.
You're welcome.